Hey there, and welcome to this very special launch. Now, I know you guys have been waiting for the POCO M3 Pro for a long time. In fact, not just that, you've been waiting for the first 5G phone from POCO for quite some time. But before we get there, I have a couple of key announcements. Now, of course, we all know we've been working from home for a long time. So I am recording this from my home and coming straight to yours. And we would have thought this entire COVID business would have kind of slowed us down, would have made us more patient, but clearly. But one thing we were very mindful of, when you had to take care of your loved ones, the last thing we wanted you to do is to go out and try and get, if there was a problem on a POCO phone, to get that fixed. So in May, we made this announcement, and that's applicable for all POCO phones. If your warranty was expiring in May or June of 2021, you automatically get a 2-month warranty extension, so that you don't have to worry about fixing your phone and you can focus on the things that matter more. Now, not just that, we had another really exciting announcement. And this one came in from IDC. Now, IDC declared the Q1 industry numbers recently, and I'm very happy to share with all of you guys that POCO was the fastest growing brand in India. And this is incredible because we've just started last year. In fact, all of POCO's existence has been through the COVID pandemic, very tough times, and I'm really happy in that space we've been able to really make a mark. In fact, started last year in February with the launch of the POCO X2. By November, we were already the number 3 brand in online. And now, to have grown 300%, we are 4 times the size we were a year ago, is remarkable. And what's also really cool about this is, in the entire industry, we have perhaps the smallest portfolio of the lot. Last year, we only had 5 phones, where you had a couple of other brands who launched almost 22 phones. Now, our philosophy was we need to make it clear, simple for consumers, as well as give really good products rather than just keep pumping out products. We have C series, which is a starter series. Again, clean experience, but everyone else who wants to get started with their smartphone journey can experience that. Then we've had these incredibly powerful M series. So we had the M2, M2 Pro last year, M3 earlier this year. And then, of course, all of you guys know the incredible X series, the flagship experience coming in without the flagship tag. And then there is a little question on the F series, but we will obviously talk about that in the coming months. Now, with this really small portfolio, we wouldn't have seen the success without you guys. Now, the POCO fans have been super important to us, or if I could say, the POCO community. And that's why today we are really happy to announce that we are rolling out POCO Community India. Now, this is going to be a platform where you can share your knowledge, get ideas, and of course, spread madness all around. And we are really excited to see what we will have in the POCO community over the next few months. Now, this has taken a little more time than we expected. We started thinking about the community last year, but what we wanted to do was be absolutely sure that all your data is kept secure and your privacy is right at the top of our priority. And hence, really happy to share that the entire POCO community has been developed in India. All your data will be secure, kept in India, and this will be open to all POCO fans in the coming months. Now, why do I say that? Today, while we are launching the community, we are starting a beta test. We are going to select a few who we think are really going to be contributing to establish or build the POCO community for the next phase. And these essentially will be kind of the founders of the community. So, of course, don't miss your chance. If you are excited about tech and if you are excited about what we have to offer at POCO, but not just corporate announcements and, of course, the community, we've also got products. In fact, last time we all met was at the launch of the POCO X3 Pro, an incredible product with amazing performance. And at the time of launch, the X3 Pro was far more powerful than anything else in its class. Well, after that, we've seen a couple of launches, or we might see a couple of launches coming in the next couple of weeks. Some with a 750G, some with a 765, or a 765 overclock to a 768G. However, nothing even comes close to the Snapdragon 860 that you saw on the X3 Pro. For those who care about performance, gaming, multitasking, the X3 Pro continues to be the most powerful phone under 20,000 rupees. In fact, the X3 Pro is the most powerful phone under 20,000 rupees ever launched in the history of smartphones in India. And not just in India, we've had incredible reviews coming in from global reviewers and experts as well. Almost everyone who's had their hands on the X3 Pro has absolutely loved it and has been amazed and continues to be amazed with the performance that we've rolled out on the X3 Pro. And I'm obviously very happy about that because, when we were talking about the X3 Pro, we wanted to get this everything you need, nothing you don't successor to the POCO F1. And with the X3 Pro, we finally have one. Now, X series has been absolutely incredible, but we are all here to talk about the incredible M series as well. Hey Raghav, we were just getting started on the M series and how incredible all the products have been.
Perfect time for me to step in. The M series has been a stellar performer. The last 1 year alone, we sold more than 3.5 million units.
So that's a huge number. I mean, if I were to take that number and probably just carve out the M series as a separate brand, I think it's going to be in the top 10 of the country. I mean, M series has been that successful. And, it's not really a surprise. The fact that it was launched less than 1 year ago with the M2 Pro in July, followed up with the M2, And then of course earlier this year we had the POCO M3, which was loved by everyone.
The M3 is a crowd favorite. Launched in February this year, the first sale itself saw more than 1.5 lakh units fly off the shelves. In our first 45 days, we sold more than 500,000 units. And till today, it continues to be our bestseller.
You know, Raghav, those numbers aren't really surprising. I mean, if you look at the M3 and what all it offered, it had an incredible 6000 mAh battery packed into just 197 grams. But that was obviously one part of it. It had a Snapdragon 662, it had a 48 megapixel camera, and of course it's a POCO. It was a full high definition plus display, and that package made it almost irresistible. Not to forget the incredible design. And with that, I think it's probably time to go from M3 to M3 Pro.
And that is my cue to go.
And as you can see, we're continuing the legacy of the M3 by delivering absolutely killer looks. Looks that don't even belong in the mid segment. And M3 Pro, it gives you exactly that. But we've changed it a little bit. We've actually taken the design language of M3 and gone a little bit more pro. We are calling this a switchblade design. Basically, this entire camera module gives you that hint of an iconic switchblade. And it comes in 3 incredible colors. What you have with me here is actually my favorite. It's the cool blue. Now the same color names, but of course a pro design coming in. Now apart from cool blue, for those people who want a little more subtle look, we also have, of course, the power black. And this power black looks much better than any black out there. So for those fans who want a black phone, I don't think you can get anything better than the M3 Pro's power black. And then of course what we're looking at, it's a POCO device, it's a POCO M series device. You are expecting the POCO yellow. Now talking about design, it's not just about the good looks, it also has to be practical. And with the M3 Pro, a couple of really incredible things. One, we made it super light. It's just 190 grams. So you've shaved off even more versus M2 Pro or even the M3. But none of the practical aspects have been lost. So you still have a headphone jack up here. You still have an IR blaster. And of course, you have Corning's Gorilla Glass protection. And we've taken it a little step further. I mean, it's not really a requirement, but every M3 Pro that ships out from POCO India will have another protective film pre-applied on every phone. So till you find a tempered glass that you need, or for those people who don't really need any protection, you can obviously peel it off. But till you find a third-party tempered glass that you want to use, you have still some protection to take you through. To sum it up, incredible switchblade design. You've got 3 colors, a cool blue, power black, and of course the POCO yellow. And yet, being an incredibly practical device, at 190 grams, you still get a headphone jack, you still get an IR blaster, you still get the POCO protection that you're all used to. Now, not just killer looks. When it comes to the M3 Pro, we're also going for mad speeds. When we were launching the POCO M3, we talked about something called the performance Trinity. You see, the processor alone isn't good enough to deliver the performance that all of you guys need. It needs to be a trinity of a good processor, incredible storage, and of course fast RAM. And with the M3 Pro, we're again checking the right boxes. Now for the first time, you're using a Dimensity processor. So this is a MediaTek Dimensity 700. And this one delivers quite a punch. What you have is a processor that's based on 7 nanometer technology. But beyond this, you're also getting speeds up to 2.2 gigahertz and of course an upgraded GPU. Now this 7 nanometer process on the Dimensity 700 gives you a performance boost of up to 20%. But from an efficiency perspective, you're seeing almost a 40% gain. And it's not really surprising because 7 nanometer is essentially a flagship grade process technology as well. You've seen 7 nanometer in the Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 or even the recently launched Qualcomm Snapdragon 870. And you're getting the same in the POCO M3 Pro as well. Now, another advantage of the 7 nanometer process is when it comes to gaming. Now, I know all of you guys really care about gaming. And happy to share, with the Dimensity 700, you're also getting up to 30% improvement in efficiency with the GPU. Well, let's talk numbers, right? Now, M2 Pro had the Qualcomm Snapdragon 720G. And that currently scores at close to about 300,000 on Antutu. The Dimensity 700 on the M3 Pro is 330. So you're seeing almost a 10% boost in pure performance as well when it comes to Antutu. And the third leg of the Trinity, the performance Trinity, is RAM. And here we are using the DDR4X RAM, which gives you performance and efficiency as well. You're seeing a pattern here, right, which is efficiency across the board and power. So what you are getting is the Dimensity 700, you're getting the DDR4X RAM, and of course, we've not really forgotten about the storage. From a storage, you have UFS 2.2 on all variants. So that gives you a lot more read-write speeds when you compare it with UFS 2.1, and of course much higher compared to any device that might be running the eMMC 5.1. So Dimensity 700 with a 7 nanometer process giving you Antutu scores of 330,000 and above. You've got up to 6 GB of LPDDR4X RAM, and you've got up to 128 GB of UFS 2.2 storage. And if you guys need to enhance that storage further, you've taken care of that as well. You can enhance it with an external micro SD card slot up to 1 terabyte. I don't know if you can get 1 terabyte cards, but if you do get your hands on, the M3 Pro is ready for that. So that completes the performance Trinity. But there's one more reason why we picked this set when it came to the M3 Pro. Or should I say M3 Pro 5G. Yes, of course we were talking about 5G. And this is the first 5G phone from POCO. Now 5G has been a bit of a controversial topic, right? And I remember people asking us last year, are you guys going to do a 5G phone? And we said we weren't ready yet. Why have we changed our mind now? It's pretty simple. Earlier in May, we had this circular come out from the Department of Telecom. Finally, really happy to see that India is starting trials on 5G. This could mean that the 5G network rollout isn't really far off, and this we think is the perfect time to get into this space. But it's still in test period, it is still trials. It's hard for me to demo the advantages of 5G to you while sitting in Bangalore here. But I have a friend who we think can do exactly that. Let me just call him. Hey Angus, we are in the middle of a launch and we are launching the incredible POCO M3 Pro 5G.
Awesome. I'm very happy to be here, and I've actually got my hands on my own M3 Pro 5G, so I'm very happy to hear you guys are doing this launch for all of our fans in India, and it's a pleasure for me to be here the very first time to interact on stage with Anuj, with all of our India fans. So yeah, so how can I help today?
Let's start off with what you do, Angus, for POCO.
Oh, okay. So I am actually the global spokesperson and also the product marketing head for POCO Global. I think a lot of our fans on my Twitter page, especially, are fans from India. I always love to interact with them, and I usually I handle all the new products. So recently I did launch the POCO M3 Pro 5G on a global, roughly around a month ago. So today I'm here to assist you.
Yes, so that's the second part of it. Because we couldn't really test out the 5G speeds in India, wanted your help. Now you've got an M3 Pro 5G with you, and you've got a 5G network. Maybe you could run a speed test for us?
Oh, of course. Actually, I'm going to use this M3 Pro 5G right here to do a speed test. Let me pull it up. Okay, so I actually have a speed test app going right now, and it's ready to go. So let's actually get started. So right now, I'm actually seeing speeds where I am right now, roughly about almost at, I would say close to, okay, it's climbing, around 800 megabytes per second for download speed, which is really, really fast. And I've actually been using 5G for a long period of time for all my daily usage. And now for upload speed, we're hitting around 122 megabytes per second. Now that's actually shocking speed in general. And I think for me personally, on these test runs and using 5G on a daily basis, what I'm actually getting as a benefit is that I've never seen the buffering circle when I'm streaming my videos on YouTube or on any other streaming platforms. Everyone knows I'm a gamer myself, so I actually never experienced that much lag ever since I've jumped on 5G. So I think as the POCO M3 Pro 5G offers, it's a great accessible experience for all of our fans around the world and fans in India as well, most likely to actually try this amazing technology out. The speed is incredible.
I mean, that's 800 plus Mbps.
Yeah.
I get about 20 to 30 Mbps on my 4G network here, and I think I used to think that was pretty good. But this changes things completely. It's a whole new level when it comes to 5G networks.
Most certainly. I think 5G is most certainly a big part of the plan for our future. And also we want more devices to be 5G enabled. And so when 5G is ready, not just only in India, but all over the world, we want fans to experience it right away.
Sure. Thanks a ton, Angus. Thanks for showing us what the 5G network and hence the POCO M3 Pro 5G that can kind of hit those speeds on those networks. Considering that I've got you here, can I ask you for one more favor?
Of course, shoot.
Perfect. That's the right word I was looking for. See, the problem is, and I'm sure you would have heard about this, in India, we've basically been hit pretty hard with the second wave of COVID-19. None of our team members have been able to go out and test out the camera. We were wondering, considering that you've been playing around with this device for some time, maybe you could tell us more about how good the camera is on the POCO M3 Pro 5G?
So yeah, of course I can talk about the M3 Pro's camera setup, and I'm happy to help for Anuj to explain how good this camera is. Now we do have, featuring on the POCO M3 Pro 5G, we have a triple camera setup, and this is a very solid camera system. So it's based around the all-purpose 48 megapixel main camera that's just super easy to use. And we also have a depth sensor for portrait shots and a macro camera for those out-of-the-world different type of field shots as well that conquers the media space. Now let's take a look at some of the sample photos. Now first we have the 48 megapixel, and you can just see the immense details on this photo. We put some colors in there, some yellow and black, and under the sun in the bright daytime, the shadow on the model's faces, not making it too artificial, is very natural. And I need to make this clear, so all these sample shots I'm going to show you are actually shot on the POCO M3 Pro 5G. Now we can also see another one that's shot by the 48 megapixel main camera. Now it's just really easy to take these scenery shots, even when there is a model inside or it's pure scenery shots. The contrast between the bright and the shadow and the brightness is actually on point. The model's face is very clear, and the quality and clarity is most certainly top notch in its own class. And for those fans who like to take night modes, we do support night mode, which captures the light very nicely, and it also brings out the contrast between the light during the night as well. And for your Instagram shots, right, we want our fans to look good on Instagram or on their Twitter or Facebook. You also have portrait mode, which really brings out the overall details, focusing on you while blurring out all the background. You're the star, and the M3 Pro captures that moment. And lastly, we do have my personal favorite mode, the macro mode. And I've actually seen some amazing macro shots by our fans, shot from our other devices. And I've seen them from my own Twitter message box. So I really encourage everyone to try this. It's a great feature. It's very creative. You can do it anywhere, not just in the outdoors, but also at home with some very common subjects. And actually, you can make it very interesting. So here, we actually shot a very close-up shot of a metal object. So look at that contrast and look at that detail. It's very on point and it's very stunning. So that's all for some sample shots for the POCO M3 Pro 5G 48 megapixel. It's a great overall snapper, and I heavily recommend everyone to go try it when you get the chance to.
Thanks, Angus. That was incredible. Thank you for showing us the capability of the 5G network and what POCO M3 Pro 5G can do in terms of speeds. And of course, those sample shots look incredible. Get out and try those as well.
Well, thank you very much, Anuj, for having me on this amazing launch. During this period of time, I've had a lot of fun. I'm definitely keeping close eye on your launch as well. And this is my very first time, like I said earlier, being a part of the India launch. So I'm actually going to take a screenshot to keep my memories fresh. Wish all the fans in India to be safe and well, and also all the best for the India POCO team to have an amazing launch. I'll be signing off, and I'll see you guys very, very soon.
Now, as you just saw, the cameras on the POCO M3 Pro were amazing. You saw some amazing images coming in, but you got to watch those images somewhere, and that's where the display becomes super important. At POCO, we've always focused a lot on the display, especially the clarity that you expect out of every phone. However, when we look at the competition and all the devices that have launched, not just last year, but even today, we continue to see things like this. Phones having HD display all the way to almost 20,000 rupees. Mancho?
Before you say something, I really need to say something. It's high time that it should be said. I'm looking at smartphone launches week after the week, and they are not changing. Let me take a simple example. 720p HD Plus phones are still getting launched, and at a price of 20,000 rupees. It does not make any sense. Why are brands just protecting themselves with using marketing or clever words or just smart branding? I think it's time for people to upgrade. It is even difficult for me to say that this is an upgrade. It is bare minimum today. Okay, I just had to get this said out. I'm done.
Thanks, Mancho, I guess. Okay. Well, as you can see, people don't really like HD displays. And that's why at POCO, we take this really seriously. Will feature a full high definition display. That means you're getting a 1080p panel, which gives you extreme clarity. Now, why do we focus so much on this? Because when you are comparing HD Plus or 720p versus Full HD Plus or 1080p, the difference is very clear. In fact, if you're watching a movie or looking at pictures, the pixelation on a HD Plus display is quite evident, especially considering most of the phones now have largish 6+ inch display. And this becomes even more pronounced when you're reading text. What we are also cognizant of is the fact that you need a large display. And that's why we are going with a 6.5 inch display on the M3 Pro 5G. On the M3 Pro, you get 91% screen to body ratio. Hence, you're seeing less of making it a lot more immersive. What we've also done is ensure that you have a dot display. That means the in-display camera is a dot, not a drop notch that most other competitors continue to have. We think having a dot camera and a tiny dot makes it almost invisible to the eye, especially when you're consuming content, making the entire display experience a lot better. For the first time on the M series, we are introducing a 90 Hz refresh rate. Yes, you've seen high refresh rates from POCO on the X series, so we know how to do these right. But for the first time on the M series and on the M3 Pro, you're getting a 90 Hz full high definition display. It is also a smart display. That means not just 90, it can also do 60, 50, or even 30 Hz depending on the content. Let me give you an example. If you're playing a video, say a 60 frames per second video from YouTube, display on the POCO M3 Pro will automatically adjust to 60 Hz, match it with the video so that you don't really have any screen tearing, and the video looks as good as it should be. It plays the way it is supposed to be played. Gaming, then the display steps up and can go all the way to 90 Hz, giving you a lot more smoother gameplay and ensuring that you're not missing out those frames in the middle, which are, at least in competitive games, really required and can make a difference between you getting a kill versus you getting killed. Now, if you're seeing something which is probably static, you don't need a 60 Hz, you don't need a 90 Hz, there it can actually drop down to say a 50 Hz. Or if you're just probably on social media, you're scrolling and you stop there, your display is smartly changed back to 50 Hz. This really helps in another way, right? So you are matching the content, but you're also saving battery life because your display driver and your display is not really pushing extra frames or going for a higher frequency when you don't really need it. What you also have is overall a lot more power efficient display than pretty much anything out there. So what you have, unfortunately for others, is you have a full high definition display, and we saw so many other brands having just a HD display, and on top of that you have a 90 Hz refresh rate. Now some people or some brands have gone for HD with 90 Hz and maybe a couple of them for a full HD with 90 Hz. Nice, but none of them will offer you the smart display that you get on the POCO M3 Pro. You've got a 6.5 inch full high definition plus 90 Hz display coming in, a fast refresh rate coming into the POCO M series for the first time. But not just any fast refresh rate, you've got a smart display. It can do 30, 50, 60 or 90 depending on the content. Makes your content look good. Second, saves overall battery life. On the M3 Pro, next to the cameras at the back and next to the flash, you will see one more sensor. And you might wonder, what the hell is that sensor? Now this is a 360-degree light sensor. Well, most phones have a light sensor in the front. So for example, if you're trying to read something and there's light coming in from the back, it'll brighten up the display or reduce the brightness if it's dark. However, there are a lot of times, suppose you're trying to take a picture of something which is really bright, right? And I hold it up. What ends up happening is that amount of light that's coming in, your phone is not able to detect. So while you're trying to take that picture, your screen, because it's seeing a shadow on this side, could become very dark. This 360-degree light sensor ensures that it measures the light from the front as well as the back and perfectly balances out your screen brightness. So your screen brightness is visible and tuned to the overall conditions wherever you are and whatever you're trying to do, making it truly unique amongst all the other phones that you find out there. Now when you're looking at a full high definition display and all that power, I'm sure you must be wondering about the battery life. On the outset, you've got a 5000 mAh battery. And this is combined with a 22.5 watt charger that comes in the box. But going beyond just the battery numbers, what you have is a big battery combined with a smart display that can drop down all the way to 30 or 50 Hertz. And that also saves you a lot of power depending on what you're doing. and that 7 nanometer flagship level process technology when it comes to the Dimensity 700. Now, all of these are helping you get more endurance than ever before. In fact, what you get is internally what we call the weekend Wali battery. Essentially, easily 2 days battery, and that's exactly what you need from a device like this one. What it gets you is more music, more streaming time, and more gaming time. So overall, a lot more time for entertainment or productivity, or however you choose to use the POCO M3 Pro 5G. To summarize the endurance on the POCO M3 Pro, you've got a smart display technology which basically matches the frequency of the display depending on what you're doing with it. So 90 Hertz for gaming, or 50 or even 30 if you don't really need that extra motion, maybe a static image or a 30 frames per second kind of a video. Now, along with that, you have a 7 nanometer process, which is also saving overall battery life, and as we saw earlier, giving you a lot more efficiency in your daily tasks. And on the third part, we've kept the 5000 mAh battery that you had on the M2 Pro, hence extending the overall battery to a whole new level. And that's all there is to the POCO M3 Pro 5G. Now, if I could summarize this amazing device has a MediaTek Dimensity 700. Now, it's a 7 nanometer process based chip, but it also supports dual SIM 5G. And we just saw Angus do a demo of how quick 5G can be. Along with this, you've got a 90 Hertz smart display. You can go 30, 50, 60 or 90 Hertz. And of course, it is a full high definition plus display. It comes with UFS 2.2, so you have fast storage, up to 6 GB of RAM, which is DDR4X. So you have a fast RAM as well. And this is combined with a 48 MP AI triple camera, giving you amazing images every time. You also have a weekend Wali battery, which is a 2-day battery and rated at about 5000 mAh with 18 watt fast charging and a 22.5 watt charger in the box. We've not forgotten about the basics. You have an IR blaster, you have a headphone jack, you have a Corning Gorilla Glass. However, let's spend some more time just admiring the design on the M3 Pro 5G. Really killer looks on this across all the 3 color variants: Power Black, Cool Blue, or the POCO Yellow. Overall, I have to say this, mad speeds, killer looks. For those who are wondering how it compares to M2 Pro, which we launched last year and which is the first M series device, well, from a Snapdragon 720G, you are looking at a MediaTek Dimensity 700. Now that was a 4G chip. This obviously supports dual 5G. But you're also getting a bump in terms of pure performance. From about 300,000 on Antutu, you're going all the way to 330,000 on Antutu. The 8 nanometer process technology based 720G gives way for a 7 nanometer based Dimensity 700. The UFS 2.1 changes to UFS 2.2, and that lovely fast refresh rate, a 90 Hertz refresh rate panel on the M3 Pro 5G versus the 60 that was there on the M2 Pro. But this 90 is more than 90, as we just saw. It's a smart display capable of doing 90, 60, 50 or 30 to match your content and further improve the overall battery life. So that is all for the POCO M3 Pro 5G. Thank you for joining in, and I'll probably see you next time.
So what's the cost of M3 Pro?
Sure, let's talk about pricing. Well, before I get to the pricing, let me probably show you how the POCO M3 Pro 5G compares with some of the devices out there in the market. Now here I've got 4 devices. There's a Samsung M42, Oppo A53, A74, there's a Vivo. Some interesting trends that you see around the board here. One is While M42 with a Snapdragon 750G comes pretty close to the M3 Pro performance, which is good, also has a 90 Hz refresh rate, which is also nice. They have a HD display at 22,000. That just does not make sense. Anyways, let's move to the next one. Oppo A53. You again have the Dimensity 700, but the camera is actually just a 13. So you're getting a 13 megapixel camera with a 60 Hz HD display, not a full HD, not a 90 Hz, but you pay 15,000 rupees for it. Or the Oppo A74 with a Snapdragon 480 processor. It is far below the performance levels that you see on the POCO M3 Pro. But it luckily does have a full HD panel, so we've got to give that. But for less performance, you have to pay 18,000 rupees starting. And then you have the Vivo Y51a. This has got a Qualcomm Snapdragon 662. You've got a 48 megapixel camera, a full HD panel, which is nice, 60 Hz. Hey, this is looking more like the POCO M3. Oh, but wait, the price is 18,000. So not the M3 Pro. The Vivo Y51 almost reads like the POCO M3, but we know M3 starts at 10,999 for the 6GB variant, while for this one you have to actually pay 18,000. Anyways, I don't think we should be comparing the Y51 with the POCO M3 Pro. It's more of an M3 comparison. But if you look at all the others, you are getting a HD display or downgraded cameras, or you have to pay a lot more, almost 18,000 and onwards. How much should the POCO M3 Pro be? Well, let's talk first about the 4GB, 64GB variant. Now this is the starting variant that we will have, and always remember you can expand your storage up to 1 terabyte with a SD card on the POCO M3 Pro. The 464 variant of the POCO M3 Pro is priced at just 11,863 plus tax, which means 13,999 only.
Can you get jute? So, Anuj, how did you do that? Please tell me this is at the early bird price.
No, sorry, Angus. These are retail prices. We don't really have an early bird price. But did I hear "Keh do ye jhoot hai"? Have you been watching a lot of Hindi movies there? Anyways, let me move on to the next. The 6GB variant with 128GB of UFS 2.2 is going to be starting at a price of just 13,558 plus GST, which means it's only 15,999. Now that Angus is gone, I have another surprise for you guys. On the first day, which is on the 14th of June on Flipkart, we are going to give in the early bird pricing. Yes, sorry Angus, but we're changing terms here. You are going to get the 464 and the 6128 at another 500 rupees off. There are no hidden terms and conditions here. It's a day one launch offer for all our POCO fans. That's it for the POCO M3 Pro 5G. You've got mad speeds, killer looks, and frankly the new switch plate design makes the Pro look even better. It shouldn't be even in this price class. But let me just summarize again. You have a Dimensity 700 based on a 7nm processor. You've got a smart display that goes all the way to 90 Hz or comes all the way down to 30 Hz, giving you the best possible endurance and content consumption experience. You have a 5000 mAh battery, and you have support for dual 5G. When 5G comes to India, we are going to be ready for it. Now you can buy this on Flipkart starting 14th of June.